The year is 1453, and the walls of Constantinople are crumbling. But this isn't a story about conquest or the clash of empires. This is about something far darker, something that has been deliberately erased from history books for over 5 centuries. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about tolerance, civilization, and the boundaries of human cruelty. Imagine devoting your entire life to God. You've taken sacred vows, renounced the world, and dedicated yourself to prayer and service. Your days begin before sunrise with hymns echoing through ancient stone corridors. Your nights end in quiet contemplation, surrounded by scripture and silence. This is your calling, your identity, your entire world. Now imagine that in less than 5 minutes, all of it will be torn away through methods so calculated and brutal that historians still struggle to document them without suffering psychological trauma. The systematic targeting of Christian nuns under Ottoman rule represents one of history's most deliberately concealed atrocities, and today we're finally going to expose the machinery of horror that was built specifically to destroy them. Between 1453 and 1924, the Christian population of Asia Minor collapsed from 20% to just 1%. That's not migration, that's not natural demographic change. That's systematic erasure, planned and executed across multiple generations of Ottoman rulers. And at the center of this genocide were policies specifically designed to target the women who represented the moral and educational foundation of Christian society. The numbers alone tell a horrifying story. During this period, 11 ecumenical patriarchs were executed along with nearly 100 bishops and thousands of priests and monks. But these religious leaders weren't the primary targets of the empire's most sadistic policies. That distinction belonged to the nuns, the teachers, the healers, the women who had sacrificed everything for their faith. Their suffering served a dual purpose: to shatter Christian communities psychologically while simultaneously feeding an economic system built on human trafficking. What makes this even more disturbing is how methodically it was organized. This wasn't random violence or the chaotic brutality of warfare. The Ottoman Empire developed a legal framework, a bureaucratic structure, and specialized facilities specifically designed to process Christian religious women like industrial commodities. Under Islamic law as interpreted by Ottoman jurists, Christians were classified as dhimmi, second-class subjects with severely limited rights. In Ottoman courts, the testimony of a Christian woman carried less legal weight than that of a Muslim man, and crimes against them, particularly against nuns, went virtually unpunished. European diplomatic records from the late 19th and early 20th centuries contain a chilling admission. There is no documented case of a Muslim being prosecuted for assaulting, abducting, or enslaving a Christian woman between 1894 and 1924. 0 cases. This wasn't oversight or judicial corruption. This was policy, deliberate and calculated. The targeting of nuns wasn't merely about cruelty. It was strategic warfare conducted with scientific precision. These women were the backbone of Christian education, the keepers of religious traditions, the moral guides for entire communities. Breaking them meant breaking the spiritual resistance of conquered populations. Their public degradation sent a message that resonated through every Christian household. If God's most devoted servants could not be protected, what hope did ordinary believers have? But the true scope of what happened goes far beyond even this darkness, and the methods used were more sophisticated than anyone could imagine. The process began long before soldiers ever set foot in a monastery. Ottoman administrators maintained detailed intelligence files on Christian religious institutions across their territories. These records included the number of nuns in each convent, their ages, their educational backgrounds, even inventories of their possessions. This information was used to plan attacks designed for maximum psychological impact and financial return. When the raids came, they followed established protocols refined over centuries. The targeted convent would be completely surrounded to prevent escape. Buildings were systematically searched. The nuns were gathered and sorted according to age and perceived usefulness. Those deemed old faced immediate execution. But the younger women faced something far worse than death. The destruction of identity began before any physical abuse. Religious habits were torn away and burned. Heads were shaved to remove any trace of their former appearance. Christian names were replaced with Turkish ones assigned by their captors. They were forced through conversion ceremonies that combined religious instruction with calculated violence designed to break their spirit completely. In major Ottoman cities, specialized processing centers were established to handle the systematic conversion and trafficking of captured Christian women. These facilities operated with the same bureaucratic efficiency as tax collection offices. Each building contained examination rooms where captives were inspected, measured, and assigned monetary values based on their age, health, and perceived attractiveness. Their futures were determined by cold calculations about how they could best serve the empire's needs. If you're finding this history as disturbing and eye-opening as we did while researching it, please consider subscribing. These are the stories that need to be told, the truths that have been buried for too long. Your support helps us continue bringing hidden history to light, no matter how difficult it is to face. The most horrifying aspect of this system was the deliberate use of reproductive violence, a tool of genocide. Captured nuns were systematically used to produce children who would inherit slave status under Islamic law. This created a self-perpetuating cycle of bondage that required no new military campaigns to maintain. The empire had discovered how to manufacture its own supply of enslaved Christians. Medical manuals from this period describe in clinical detail how to maintain the health of pregnant captives, treating them like livestock rather than human beings. Physicians were assigned to these facilities not to provide compassionate care, but to maximize birth rates while keeping the mothers alive for repeated use. The children born from these forced unions were separated from their mothers immediately and classified according to their potential value. Boys who appeared strong or intelligent were taken for military training. Destined for the Janissary Corps, they would be raised as Muslims with no knowledge of their Christian heritage, turned into weapons against their own people. Girls were sorted based on appearance and health, designated as future servants or breeding stock themselves. The psychological warfare embedded in this system was devastatingly effective. The public humiliation of nuns became a weapon of terror that eliminated the need for actual military conquest. Villages that witnessed such atrocities frequently surrendered without resistance the next time Ottoman forces appeared. The empire's reputation for targeting religious women spread faster than its armies, creating zones of submission through fear alone. The story of what happened to Christian nuns under Ottoman rule isn't just historical tragedy. It's a warning about how quickly civilization can collapse when human beings are redefined as commodities, and how bureaucratic efficiency can transform individual cruelty into industrial-scale atrocity. The infrastructure of this systematic horror was far more sophisticated than most realize, and the evidence of its existence has been deliberately buried by those who prefer comfortable myths about tolerance and coexistence. What we've uncovered today represents only a fraction of a much larger truth, one that continues to echo through history with consequences we're still feeling today. Leave a comment below and tell us, why do you think this history has been so deliberately hidden? What does it say about how we choose to remember the past? Your thoughts matter, and this conversation needs to continue.